This very ambitious video is sponsored by our friends at Squarespace. Thank you. Okay, so here's the thing. I've been using Premiere to edit videos for almost 7 years. Before that, I was in Final Cut Pro 7, then Final Cut 10 hit the fan, and yeah, I switched to Premiere. A few things have been coming up that have made me curious about Resolve. Not just the stability issues with Premiere, but also just a faster workflow in general. I'm curious, so I'm gonna be comparing Resolve and Premiere a lot, but just seeing overall, is it possible to switch your entire video workflow from Premiere to Resolve? Does it check the boxes? I don't know, because I'm still a huge fan of Premiere. Excuse the mess, but you know, I've been busy learning an entirely new video editing program. It's been a lot. Over the course of a month, I will be editing on 3 machines: a 2017 MacBook Pro, a Dell XPS 9570, and also my main gear PC. So that's my desktop computer. I've already edited 1 video in Resolve. It took a little bit of learning, a lot of YouTube tutorials, but I think I got my handle on things. Davinci Resolve historically has been really only for color grading. So Hollywood studios, big productions use it to color grade their movies, their TV shows. There's a lot of control with that. Blackmagic actually acquired Davinci Resolve not until 2014, so it's actually kind of a recent thing. And now they're really focusing on it being an all-in-one program to edit, to cut your footage, to edit audio, to have visual effects and coloring all in one program. And the fact that there's a free version of the software and then the full version is only $2.99, a one-time payment, and the fact that they're just paying a lot of attention to editing features, well, that has just caught my eye this past year. I recommend it for people just starting out. I recommend the free version, so I've done a little bit of editing, but it's not until now that I've gotten the full grasp and I've actually been editing my videos. So I think the most important thing to start with is maybe a little tutorial, just a very quick tutorial so we know what we're talking about here as I compare it to Premiere. Okay, miniature tutorial time. So starting from this beginning window, this is a kind of an annoying part of Resolve that I don't like, is everything is located in databases. So when I talk to the Blackmagic guys, they basically said, hey, it's best practice to create a database per quarter. So have a quarter 1 database, quarter 2 database. This database is located deep into your libraries. I don't like that because then, you know, you start having multiple gig files just hiding somewhere on your computer. But apparently that's intentional. They want it to seem like a vault where your projects are locked up, you can't touch them. And the part that probably made the most sense, if your projects are all in one database, it's much easier to upgrade all of your projects at one time when there are updates. You know, you can do it with a click of the button. But let's just open up a new project right here. We'll say open. So Dissolve is multiple things in one media. This is where you grab the footage and pull in the clips you need. So I'm gonna go into the folder in Finder, and I basically have everything organized the way I wanna bring it in. So say I want this footage folder, I want the talking head folder, I want music. You can just drag it down over to here, and boom. You have talking head, you have the miscellaneous footage. When you go into the edit tab, you'll have everything right here. When you first open up Resolve, it might look like this, super annoying. You probably wanna bring it up, so just click that and you'll have the timeline span all the way down here. So you have your media pool, you have the effects library. You can change how you view your files right here. If you're scrubbing and you like what you hear, press I to set an endpoint, press O for an out point, and you just drop it like it's hot. I mean, that seems pretty normal, right? What I love about Resolve is the audio controls. You can literally go all the way past 6 dB. So if you have something really low in volume, you can just crank it without adding another volume effect like in Premiere. And you can bring it all the way down. Look at just the control to just negative whatever you want. Editing audio is really, really nice in Resolve. If you want to change how the clip is viewed, all of your options are in here. This is the way I like it. I like to see the audio waveform. I edit using the audio waveform a ton. And then if you want your source and program monitor into one, you just press this button. And then this is your program monitor. And then when you're viewing source clips, it'll just change automatically. So you'll have some room over here for the inspector. And that's the way I like to keep it. Fusion is for effects, video effects. This is where you can get fancy, where you can add some blur. Color is what makes Resolve sing. This is why Resolve is so special, because obviously, like, everyone loves Resolve for the color. Fairlight is basically Audition, and then Deliver, this is where you export your clip. Now it's time to export the same exact video that I just did in Resolve, now in Premiere on the different machines. All you have to do in Resolve is export as a Premiere XML. It's pretty easy to do. All I had to do was reapply the film convert, the color grade, on the adjustment layers, because that's the only thing that didn't come over. And let's go. Obviously so much more to talk about, but before, thank you so much Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I love Squarespace, it's an all-in-one platform, but listen, they've added some cool things that I think you're gonna benefit from, whether you're running a creative portfolio, you're a photographer, designer, wanna show off your work, or maybe you have a restaurant, I don't know, you're doing your creative thing. Respect. Not only is there the power to check analytics, to have all the data you need, who is coming to your website and how often, you have email campaigns. You can do built-in email campaigns to Squarespace. A really cool new feature is you can book appointments. So you can essentially have a calendar, someone can go in there and say, hey Sarah, I wanna book you to take pictures of me. I wanna book you for a podcast. I wanna book you, set an appointment straight from the website. Maybe you're a hair salon. This is huge. This is a huge feature, and I think it can help anyone from being a photographer, videographer, podcaster, hair salon, all the things. The options are limitless. Is your brain already going? Are you already like, oh yeah, I know what I need to do in my website. I know what to do. There's so many ways that Squarespace can help you build this beautiful website for your business, for your creative profession. If you want to check it out, go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to start, are you ready to start? You can go to squarespace.com/saradietschy for 10% off your first website or domain. So you can do it right now. Or wait till you finish this video, because I can tell this video is going to take a long time for me to make, and then you can go to squarespace.com/saradietschy. Okay, let's get into it. One of the things that they said with this recent Resolve is it's great for laptop editing. Basically saying making sure all the space that's being used is efficient and has a purpose. The only shocking thing is I wasn't aware that the windows aren't movable. So in Premiere, you can literally customize your workspace in any way you want. It was a great experience on my laptop. I thought they did use the space efficiently. It was very easy to move the clips around and just move fast in general. I finished up this entire journey. It was actually much longer than I expected. Over a month of editing in Resolve. So I did the Macbook, XPS, and also on my main gear desktop computer. And long story short, Resolve crashed maybe once the entire time. I think Premiere is getting much more reliable. I'm not getting as many crashes, but you know, you'll go several projects without a crash, and then it's just like, it always crashes when you most need it. So Resolve has been very stable, and that was me on the beta for the most part. Now there is a 16.0 release where it's off of beta and everything is solidified. Let's talk about all the cool things that I enjoyed. So it's interesting because Resolve kind of markets to the professional TV, movie, feature film crowd. However, a lot of the features that they offer are features for people maybe more like you and me who does short form content, maybe YouTube. Maybe that's when being able to zoom into something or maybe cut into an interview at a 2x crop. All of those things are super helpful to do very quickly. And you have all of those controls right below your program monitor. I found myself using those so much. It's a different way of editing. In Premiere and the old Final Cut Pro 7, you get really used to keyframe editing where you actually see the keyframes. So I want my clip to zoom in from here to here, I set the keyframes for the scale. It goes from 100% to 125. You set 2 keyframes, boom, that's how you do it. But in Resolve, you basically make all of these actions and you never have to see a keyframe. You basically do it visually, and it's something that I'm having to get used to, but it didn't take a while, and it just made sense. Oh, I really don't have to see those keyframes when I'm doing it visually, and I'm seeing the product before my eyes. And yeah, those tools proved to be very, very useful. I've always been a believer of keyboard shortcuts. The more you can use your keyboard, the less, clicking and dragging and all of that, you're gonna be able to edit faster. So I was able to really customize my shortcuts the way I was used to in Premiere, and you also use things unique to Resolve to really get some fast results. And so you can download the keyboard shortcuts in the description below, and you can use my Resolve keyboard shortcuts. And I also have an entire video on that if you want an explanation, or you can just download them and check out what I have going on. I think one of the biggest advantages in Resolve is everything is there for you. You have audio editing, you have special effects, you can do beauty enhancements, you can do object removal right in the editor, and you don't have to go to a different app. Now, I would argue using Adobe products, using Dynamic Link, it's not that big of a deal to hop in between apps, because you can really just right-click something in Premiere, open it in After Effects, and it's good to go. Open an audio track in Audition, but again, maybe, just simplifying those steps, making it right there in the app. If you're spending weeks and weeks on one video, all of those little actions will amount to a lot of time spent hopping around apps. So if nothing is missing in between Fairlight, the editor, the color panel, then yeah, it might be quicker for you. In this update, they introduced the cut page, and I really tried to use it to find some use for it, but I think it's going to be a much more meaningful experience with the keyboard that they're releasing at some point. Most of the useful things that you can do, like adding in a clip that is automatically 2 times cropped in, drop it on the timeline, that's something that you have to drag your mouse over and click, and I wasn't able to assign it to a keyboard shortcut. So I just think there's a lot of potential with the cut page. The goal is when you're in the timeline, you're zooming in and you're zooming out a ton, and that kind of eliminates having to do that. You have 2 timelines stacked on top of each other, the timeline in the full on the top, and then kind of the zoomed in one, and you can't zoom in and out, and so it's to eliminate that process and all the time spent. But I couldn't get used to it. But the Davinci team is very clear on, hey, this is a process, give us feedback, go in the forums, tell us what you like and what you don't like, and this might be a super cool feature in Davinci 17 maybe. In terms of performance on my laptops, on my desktop, of course render times are going to vary, but when I'm in the app, I didn't really notice anything different between a Mac and between a PC. Obviously, if you have more horsepower in a desktop and an iMac, you're going to get better performance, but nothing was stuttering. It played back smoothly. What's nice about Resolve is they actually have more effects that are GPU accelerated. So you can tell in the effects, they'll have a little GPU icon next to it. Okay, so let's open up a project that I edited completely in Resolve here. So here is the timeline. We got a lot of music going on. Something that I really love about Resolve, if you see these little red marks right here, that means that that specific clip is in the timeline. You already used it. So that's super handy when scrolling through. A lot of the things that you're used to in Premiere, you can do here. So you can create a compound clip, and that is the same exact thing as nesting. You can also retime a clip. So say we'll slow this down to 50%, and then you can go to your inspector, and then you can click stabilization. It's already there. I love that it's already there. You don't have to go to effects, and you can hit stabilize, and it'll do it without having to nest the clip. Premiere supposedly fixed some of these nesting things, but the combo of speed and warp stabilizer, you still have to nest and then do that. So the fact that there's all of these effects, cropping, dynamic zoom, stabilization, retime and scaling, there's all these things already in your inspector that you don't have to go from effects. This was my first video on the MacBook. Macbook. And since then, I've watched a ton of YouTube tutorials on how to use the color panel. But if you're lazy like me, you can just add an adjustment clip. Same thing as an adjustment layer. You can download something like Film Convert. I love Film Convert. And just apply it here like you would in Premiere, and you're done with the color. I think Film Convert actually looks really, really nice. However, where Resolve is so cool is when we go over to the color tab. Oh my gosh, I know this is scary, but don't be scared. We're gonna head over to the color wheels. Basically, it's just they're using different words. This is the shadows, midtones, the highlights, and then just the overall image changing the color. And then the wheels down here just control exposure. So the exposure in the shadows and the midtones and the highlights. See? Cool, 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 cool. This is where people get intimidated up here in the nodes, but it's actually super, super cool. So here is a use case that I would use to speed up a normal workflow. So we have all these talking head shots, right? Instead of using a adjustment clip, there's cool ways you can use that too. You can right click all of these and you can say, add into a new group. So I'll say talking. So this is basically a way to apply a quick grade to all of these clips in a group. So instead of color correcting this one specific clip, you're going to go group post clip. And this basically means that anything that you do on the second, third, fourth node is going to apply to the entire group. We'll do add node corrector. We'll put it second in the sequence here. We're just gonna connect these here, connect it to the end. And then let's go down here and do whatever we want. Oh my gosh, we want a super ugly pink image. Fantastic. We can also apply our film convert to this. Oh my gosh, love it. Change the settings over here. And what's so cool, if you notice, because this is a group post clip, it's applying this to everything in the group. So this is a cleaner, easier way to apply the same color grade to multiple clips, and you don't have to drop an adjustment layer on the timeline. So it'll keep things clean. Nodes aren't scary, I promise. There's so many good tutorials out there, and the more you play around with the color, the more powerful it is. It's crazy because now I'm thinking, oh, even if I don't use Resolve for an editor, I'll probably still be in Premiere. I love Premiere. But I might consider now bringing my workflow into Resolve for color for big projects, because this is really fun. Okay, but we're just talking about the basics here.
Last thing to mention, I am linking the 3 YouTube videos that I edited and also delivered via Resolve. And the one complaint that I have with the deliver mode is it's just Resolve making an H.264 compressed version of your video. There's no secret sauce. In Premiere, they actually took the extra step to figure out exactly what YouTube needs. So when you upload your video, it is going to be looking almost exactly like what your export looks like. So YouTube doesn't have to compress it again. So if you look at this video, just the compression is honestly terrible. So I would highly advise against using the YouTube preset in Resolve, because if you see these videos that I exported from Resolve, just the compression was terrible. It really was. And I think you guys, some of you pointed that out in the comments. So if you're in Premiere, feel comfortable with using the YouTube export preset because it looks great. It's what YouTube needs. Resolve is basically just a compressed H.264, nothing special export. So you're gonna have to play around with it, but I would definitely up the bit rate.
Time to talk about the cons. And again, all of this is kind of, from the perspective of being a Premiere user. So cons. With syncing audio in Resolve, you have to kind of keep all the video files and audio files into one folder, and Resolve hopefully is smart enough to figure out, what goes where, and it's kind of a guessing game. It wasn't that great of an experience because it messed up a lot and I had to search through forums as what I was doing wrong. But with Premiere, synchronizing audio is so easy. It doesn't matter if you have 3 video clips and 1 audio source that all link together, or maybe 3 audio sources and 1 video clip. Basically, all you have to do is select all of them, right click, synchronize audio, and it figures it out. Maybe it's just the overall glossy look of Resolve that is similar to Final Cut, and the timeline is super smooth. It doesn't seem as clunky as Premiere, but then Premiere is way more precise with getting frame by frame edits. With Resolve, it's just a little bit more finicky. You just gotta find the right combo of what trim modes you're using and snap snapping on and off, and you know, like Premiere, if I zoom in enough, I can always just get, you know, a 1 frame cut or 2 frame cuts. I see how many frames I'm cutting. Adding titles isn't as smooth as it is in Premiere. I love the new title option and all the essential graphics tools in Premiere. Those are super handy. However, you can do some cool stuff with the Resolve titles as well. But yeah, maybe it's just a preference of mine. I'm used to Premiere titles. Great thing about Premiere is you can control the playback quality very easily. So say you have a 6K file, or maybe you have a time lapse, you know, it's a condensed clip with a lot of data in it, your computer is struggling to play it. You can turn from full resolution to half resolution or a 4th resolution to just view what it looks like, and it's a little bit, you know, the quality dippens a little bit, but you can view that clip and you can move on with the rest of your life. In Resolve, there's 2 ways to do this. You can generate optimized media, which is basically just creating a proxy, so it really stops your workflow and you have to wait for that to generate, which is like not a good situation. So I asked them how to do it. There's another way to create a render cache. Is that right? Okay, so you basically right click the clip and then you click on render cache color output, and then in settings you can change that to just, if you're on a PC, DNX HRSQ, so the lowest res possible, or ProRes proxy if you're on a Mac, and then basically clicking that, you're gonna get a low res output, and that'll be a quicker solution. But again, just doing like half quality in Premiere is so much easier. So really, I think the biggest thing between Premiere and Resolve is just the flexibility. Resolve is doing a really good job in trying to be smarter, trying to do things that might take 4 steps and bring it down to 1. That's why I'm interested in it. I'm constantly trying to optimize how I make videos, how can I make them faster, but it just seems like I was tripped on like the little stuff, right? But then Resolve had a lot of cool built-in tools that save time, like swipe transitions and automatic dynamic zooms and cropping in super easily and not having to mess around with going in deep in keyframe editing. So I'm kind of at this weird standstill where, yes, I'm probably gonna keep editing in Premiere because it's what I'm used to, but I approach Resolve as a legitimate option. I wanted to get proficient in it, and I think I did. If you handed me a computer and said, okay, you can only edit in Resolve from now on, I would be comfortable with that. And I think it's a great program. It's not very hard to go from Premiere to Resolve as a Premiere user. And even though Resolve is a one-time payment, you're not gonna be paying $50, $70 a month like the Creative Cloud subscription for Adobe, but I would say that's great value if you use more than just Premiere, because you get, you know, a full range of editing tools that a lot of professionals use. But Resolve, they still release a lot of updates. They are, just because it's a one-time fee of $2.99 doesn't mean they're gonna sit on their hands and not update it. I've literally just in 16.1 beta that they just released, the 2x crop button now will detect if this is a talking head. It just won't do a 2x crop, but it'll detect where the face is, how much headroom do you need, so you don't have to adjust it more. And so it's doing some really cool stuff. And the fact that most of this is available at the free option. You can download Resolve right now for free. Now there are some limits. It doesn't include some of the effects. It might limit the resolutions you can edit at, but it's such a good deal. And now that it's not just a professional coloring app, you already have tools at your disposal that the professionals are using, but now it's a fully competent editing program. So yeah, it really makes you wonder, what is this future of video editing programs? For what I do, it's basically Premiere or Final Cut, and I really never considered Resolve. It was always like, oh yeah, it's that nice free option. But now it's playing with the big boys. And so now you have Davinci Resolve, Final Cut, Premiere. You have Avid over here for the TV editors and feature film people. But yeah, we won't pay attention to Avid. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video because it was over 2 months of work. I really don't know why I put myself through that. Black magic. Davinci Resolve, you're welcome. If you want to thank me, you can reimburse me for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 6K that I just bought. I would really appreciate. Thank you so I'm just kidding. I didn't get paid to make this video. I'm always interested in exploring all of the tools we have at our disposal. If you enjoyed this video, let me know if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button down below and ask me any questions you have. I'm confident that I can answer them in full now that I've been in this program for a while. And if you watch this entire video until the end, you should definitely comment like, oh, wait for it, twist at the end, because guess what I edited this video in? This is Final Cut 10. Well, here goes nothing. I'm editing my last video switching to Davinci Resolve for 30 days on Final Cut. So it's time to start switching to Final Cut 10 for 30 days. Let's do this.